some connections could go ahead and be made. I think that's an extra perk about the summit is bringing so many different people together and seeing how we can all help each other. Yeah, to dive in, my name is Natalie Vedder. I'm our digital marketing and communications manager on campus, and I'm coming to Athens State with about 10 years in the higher ed and private sector when it comes to marketing, social media, event planning, and digital communication. So Amy and I wanted to team up and share with y'all some of the things that we've learned when it comes to internal and external communications and how to get to the point so your audience knows exactly what you're trying to communicate and trying to get them to do and participate in. So I'll turn it over to Amy.
So I'm Amy Garrison. I've been here about 4 years as the Director of Student Engagement. And so I primarily work with student leaders, ambassadors, student organization officers, and their faculty member, their faculty advisors. And then we do student activities, all those types of things, and events. And I've been in higher ed about 20 years at various schools, and this is always useful information. And so when Natalie became part of the university, she brought with her some really cool stuff. I got to be on your hiring committee, and she showed, I don't know if you remember that, but she showed us like her portfolio of all this really cool stuff. So I've enjoyed working with her. I feel like we are a unique place in how we communicate with our students because many are taking classes online. And so putting flyers around campus is fine, but it's not going to be how we can get our message across. So we've learned some things as we go, and so we want to share those and generate more ideas here.
Yeah, definitely. Feel free to chime in if you have thoughts or questions along the way. Amy and I laughed. We are really getting to the point in this session, so we may not take the full 50 minutes, but we'll have some opportunities for participation and questions throughout, and we can just go ahead and dive in. So why does clear communication matter? Writing is a tool that we can leverage to provide clarity and guide your audience to an actionable task. So it's really important, we'll kind of go into this further, but important to know, what do you want your reader to do? And graphic design is definitely an element of this, but one thing I wanted to call out, and possibly you all will work with graphic designers, or you may utilize Canva or other resources to create your own flyers or digital designs. While we're not focusing on design, it's really important to have the communication aspect filled out and for you to have your hands wrapped around that before you go to design. And I'll show you an example in just a minute of what that could look like. But just speaking of confusing or flat messaging, does anything come to your mind when considering how to get a thought just portrayed to your audience clearly, or have you been a victim of confusing messaging as a consumer? Yeah.
One thing I've tried to stop doing is when I make PowerPoints, I've tried to stop writing like whole paragraphs on them. That's one thing Dr. Elmore really taught us, was like set a word limit, because no one's gonna read those paragraphs on PowerPoint.
Yeah, definitely. That is a great example. And that's part of the example I'm going to share with you, because people can only consume so much at one time. And really, in a presentation, it's our job to expound upon the different ideas that are shared with you. And in a graphic, you want exactly what you're wanting to do to have the audience do. You want that to be very clear. And we come across that a lot of times, just confusing. Are you wanting a donation, or are you wanting event participation, or do you want people to register? And if you put everything in it, it can just come across a little like, oh, I'm sorry. I thought that my example, here it is.
Yeah.
Very good. So here is a confusing one that's very colorful and cute, and it is a fun and funky design, but Can we really tell what's going on here?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's so many different dates and times. And then one thing that may be important for you to note, this link, if you share that on social media, no one can click that. So one thing that we really try to do, a QR code is fine because maybe someone's looking at it on their desktop and then they can use their phone to scan. But we tend to use this type of graphic for digital marketing because in the verbiage or in your post, you can include a hyperlink that they click on. This is really just a waste of space and it just adds to that confusion of what am I supposed to do here? What's going on? We know it's a Midsummer Night's Dream, but beyond that, it's a little confusing by who's putting it on, where it's going to be. The date and time are difficult to read. So it's really nice here that it's very clear. Athens State, the community band, what's happening? Summer concert. And we've got the date and time and location, which just make it very easy to consume. And then pro tip is that in the caption and body of your post, we included that free registration on Humanitics. Well, that link is then linked in the caption so people can register that way rather than being like, oh, where do I click? What do I do?
So this is something that we think about a lot because we all are in our own little bubble of whatever group or organization. And so you know all the details and they're swimming around in your mind and you are wanting to share all the things.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes it takes a fresh set of eyes or creating something. And then even if it is just the written text of an email that you're going to send, put it away and then go back even for yourself to look at it again to say, did I cover everything? What can I edit out? Just like people who either are really into fashion, they always say, you know, you get yourself all ready and then you can always take one thing away, right? Okay, or I'm trying to think of another example, but that's the one that comes to my mind. So that it's not just too much and too distracting. So sometimes when we're doing this type of thing, even if your end goal is not going to be a flyer or a digital post of something, there's always something that you can go back and refine. So that takes some thought, like a thoughtful plan of action, to get to the point. So it's not that this isn't all good info, but maybe they didn't need it all at once, all in one flyer, all in one, image. Like Natalie was saying, there are different ways we can parse things out.
Yeah, definitely. So gonna rewind a little bit. But first ask, everyone saw the slide, but taking it back to the basics, who can tell me the 5 W's and H of communication and writing?
How long, how much?
Exactly. So one way to get to the point is just to remember the basics. Who is involved, or particularly who's putting it on, and also think about who is your audience. Like Amy mentioned, it's really important to think through the lens of your audience and how you're communicating with them. What is happening? When is it? Where is it happening? Why does it matter? And how do they participate? I think the why and the hows are kind of interchangeable, so that's another piece to think about. As Amy mentioned, all the information may be important, but it may be when do they get the information? Is the why maybe better through a newsletter, and then the how is better for your digital marketing. So thinking through those different layers and phasing out when you would want to share them and how you would want to go about doing that. I got too excited about my example, so
It's a good one.
And then Amy, I'll turn it over to you.
So I think about this a lot because, yes, what I do mostly is targeted at students, but that's not the only way that I can go about things. If I'm only ever sharing things with currently registered students, it's minimizing my audience. And you guys may find that as well for whatever project you're working on. That's not the only group that you need to speak to, but it is one of them. Okay. So I'm thinking about which audiences do I need to get information across to, and what do they need to know? What do they really need to know? When do they need to know it? And how much of this is going to be an ask that I'm making? To some people, it's purely just information. So when I'm going up, when I'm sharing things with supervisors, with deans, they really just need to know some highlighted points, right? I'm not giving them all the details unless they ask for them. When I'm trying to encourage participation, I almost said entice, that sounds terrible. When I'm trying to encourage participation, it's going to look a certain way. But what I've also found is one of my audiences are also faculty members, so full-time and also adjunct faculty members, because they are part of the community. And while they may not want to come to everything, they want to know how to get their students engaged. So the why is actually something that I spend a lot of time sharing with faculty and adjunct professors and some administrators. So my research in my field tells me that a student's success is actually directly tied to the relationships that they form with other their peers, with faculty members, and with belonging, feeling like they actually belong here. So do I need to tell students that? No, I don't really need to tell you guys those kind of things all the time. Like, that's not that interesting to you. But to faculty and adjuncts, yes, this is why I feel like you might want to be aware these things are happening and maybe even share some of them. I can't make you do those things, but I'm going to tell you why that I think that's important. And then I'm going to make it easily digestible. So what that might look like for them is a very short snippet of a date, a time, and a title, and a link where they could find more information. Something they could clip and send if they want to. So I am being thoughtful about every interaction that I'm planning out, not just creating, like, if you still visualize that one big flyer that had everything on it, I don't want to just always send stuff like that, because how much of that do we see like every day in our life? A lot. And there's a lot of good stuff out there. But there's a lot of that. So I want each of my audiences to get a targeted approach, which means that I'm actually spending my thought time, like going deep on planning that out. And what the end result looks like is very different. So the email that Sarah's going to send to Whitney is going to be one step of her thing. The way that she communicates with the faculty member is going to be very different. When she's guiding, trying to get info back from those students on that project, the business plan, it's going to look very different. What she then gets from that and shares with the people that she's trying to encourage to participate in the food bank collection looks this way. Volunteers, like, everything's going to look customized. So that is sort of the tone, the format, the length. You're thinking through who needs it to be short and succinct. How professional does this need to sound when I send things out to students? Or if it's about not even just to students, but if it's something that is meant to be just about community building, it's not educational, it's purely for fun, or it's purely volunteer, the tone, that's where you bring that in. So it's going to take a little different twist. And I think when you guys reflect on the things that actually resonate with you, when you're reading through something, when something gets your attention, that's what you're noticing is the tone, I think. So when you see those terrible commercials, like I watch the regular news in the morning, like, and you know the ones, because the tone is just off. And you're like, who told them to do that? Why did someone who loves them very much not tell them that maybe that's not the way to go? And then others, they nail it, right? It's still,
It's always the medication commercials.
oh, my husband hates those. Yes. Yeah, why are they so bad? And then it just makes you angry if it's one that's something serious about depression, and you're like, they just really got that wrong. Somebody probably needs that info.
Gotta go work lunch.
Okay.
But if you need anything, just let us know.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, tone, format, and length are all those things. And really all I'm saying is we have to be thoughtful about planning it out, and then maybe hashing it out is sometimes the way that we do things in our office. We'll talk something out. I'm not always the person who's writing something, so we pass things back and forth. If you've got somebody you trust to collaborate with, that's always a good way to go, because everyone's writing style is different and the way they consume information. and they may notice something, or they can tell you that's a lot, or you don't say how much it is. You didn't, I'm really interested, but if you don't say that this is free, then I'm probably just going to pass it by because I think I can't, pay for that or whatever. So all those things we're going to spend time thinking about writing for our audience.
Here's another example where context is key, where you're considering your audience and particularly not assuming that people know your organization. I
don't
found
know where to start on that one.
I found another example that I'm like very confused. It took me forever to find the time, and
What is it?
Mitchell's
Dinner
show-
and a comedy show.
Yeah, it's dinner and a comedy show.
Fundraiser. Okay.
Any thoughts?
Well, each of the examples that you've given on the left are theater based. And that's kind of a template that they've used. That's the other thing we were gonna play together. Okay, that's it. Green and Green Gables.
Yeah.
Okay. I had to
I think
reach
they're
for that one.
designing from a.
It's a different format, a different audience. So, how many people have seen a Broadway production and know that black and yellow playbill? So a lot of local theater groups, troops, whatever, will play off of that template or format because they are of the impression, possibly making an assumption, that their literal audience has in fact been to New York or seen a Broadway production and knows that format. Both of the examples you've given on the left are things that theater people would do.
I'm a theater person. I wouldn't do it.
I'm a theater person, so.
No. I mean, as in,
But I see it now
as
that
in
you
that's
say
the
it.
flyers that they put up in windows. That's
I
what,
see it now that
that's
you
the
say it.
format or the template
Yeah.
that has been used.
I've
Should
actually
it be
seen-
changed?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But there's-
Are there possibly too many colors? Yes.
Too many messages.
Yeah.
But
I know if they're having an event,
Yeah.
then they want the fundraising and they want reservations. It's just too much information.
Yeah, a lot.
But I hear what you're saying, Meg,
Yeah.
I mean,
think about
I'm not bothered by either of them. Do I think something being more streamlined? I compare it to a dissertation or an essay.
Yeah.
Okay, for your doctoral dissertation, they want a bunch of crap in there that nobody cares about. They want 800 pages that you were publishing, and by God, they're gonna be happy. You're gonna write, you're gonna rewrite.
That's your 800 pages.
Yes, yes. Whereas, can you not say it in 10 pages? I'm a meat and potatoes kind of, I mean, I'm bare bones, just, I refer to it as the reporter question. So when you asked, when I teach, I tell my students, when you're completing an assignment, and this was secondary education was my last foray, the last 5 years, I call them the reporter questions. If you haven't heard these in English or in high school in this semester on a block schedule, if you're not in English, let me remind you. And then that's what I utilize in order to attempt to streamline. But, there is a time and a place, like you said, know your audience. One of your slides said it, you all together. There's a time and a place. The thing on the left is what I'm 58. So someone my age remembers that and recognizes that. And maybe it's because I know what that is that I'm able to see it's a patriotic event, therefore they did red, white, and blue. Okay.
I see this a lot too with we've had some people from off campus do rock shows, and there's a lot going on because they've got a lot of sponsors or
Rock the South. We used to have the soul thing here on campus. Do you remember the name of that event?
Soul Stuck.
Soul Stuff.
Oh, yeah.
We had it out here on Beasley Hill.
Okay.
Oh gosh, for years.
It was,
Remember that?
Yeah, it was a lot.
it was.
There was a lot of complaints with respect to the sound, the volume, the activity, but yet they don't complain about Fiddler's Convention, and it went much later and was more days. So again, it's your audience. So,
Yeah.
and it's an age thing too.
Yeah.
Generationally speaking,
Yeah.
I'm used to that. That doesn't bother me.
I do. The other one I see and you don't see it here, but I haven't always lived here, are they're club flyers, people who in cities where they're a club.
Yeah.
But they're on this big, and
Yeah.
there's so much on there. You're like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's a great point, that this may not necessarily be wrong, but for our purposes today, we're thinking about
Right.
professional comms
Absolutely.
and internal, if you want the community involved, that this is a very niche group of people.
Absolutely.
So to keep in mind, the most effective way to get your information across is to kind of do the meat and potatoes. I have a journalism background and news writing, so the reporter mindset is definitely ingrained in me. So this is an event on campus, the Little Free Library. One thing I wanted to call out was the original graphic for this, not to pick on anybody, but the original graphic just said ASLA. And on campus, we know that's Athens State Literacy Association, but this was open to the community. So it was important that we spell it out, hosted by Athens State Literacy Association. Date and time outside of McCain Hall. It's important to, and speaking of collaboration, initially this invitation did not include that little asterisk left corner facing McCandless Hall. And our public relations manager mentioned we need to really specify, because the fronts of the buildings on campus, y'all know it can be, the front is
Not always where
Relative.
people walk in. Yeah.
yeah, so keep in mind if you are hosting an event that's at the corner of the building, to kind of provide some of those directional instructions. And similar, this one on the left is calling for
Donation.
well, this one, I
Yeah.
think it includes, fundraiser. So I kind of thought this was an interesting comparison. Book donations would be accepted for the Little Free Library. And you would contact Elizabeth Pruitt.
And as a plug for that, it's still outside if anybody wants to donate any books. I noticed it when I was there the other day. I have
Yeah.
a quick question for you though. Left
Yes.
corner facing McCandless.
Mhm.
Okay. If I'm facing McCandless, isn't McCandless where the auditorium is?
Yeah,
It's actually to your right.
I think the
Well,
corner is facing.
the corner,
I think
if
of
you're
like
looking
the
at McCann,
Italian-
that's a great point.
Yeah.
And this was a struggle for us.
Everybody-
Logan and I,
That's not,
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, and that's the McCain Hall that's facing the interior of the property versus the entrance with the fancy
yes.
scroll handrails that faces.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's a great point. And
Yeah.
Lauren and I went back and forth on like, how do we say
How do you
this?
say it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So clearly, here's an example of more thought needing to be
Depending on
put
who's
into it.
reading it. Yeah.
Right.
With the two of us,
Because we all
That's
knew
what-
where it was going to be also.
Right.
So yeah, we should have.
And I happen to know where it is, but I would not have. I would not have. Yeah.
well, I was thinking if you're looking at McCain,
Yep.
the left corner, and there's McCandless, but it does sound like you're facing McCandless. Anyways, so clearly it can be tricky to get to the point and communicate your message. So
I also like how, and I know we weren't talking about graphics, but I think this even applies when you're just putting something in the text of an email or just any type of written message that may or may not have a graphic, is that things are in order of how you want to get people's attention. So like the title or the reason, the date and the time, like it sort of narrows down. And then if they're still interested by the time they get to the bottom, then yes, put the contact info or whatever. So like having an order to things that people are sort of familiar with, narrowing down like lots of interest to
if you're still
the
hanging
tiny
on
detail. Yeah.
and you want to bring a book.
Yeah. That's right. That's right.
Yeah, so just a little example there to try and keep it concise. So we were not really sure who all was going to be here with us today. So I'm going to try to tackle this from an internal perspective and an external perspective. In your various roles, you may have a communications and marketing department that you can work with on these types of things, or you may be flying solo like Sarah. So if you are connected to Athens State in any way, or not, your organization may send out newsletters. And at Athens State, we have the Athens Insider, and we also have the e-newsletter. The Athens Insider is strictly for internal communications, and the e-newsletter goes out to all of our alumni. There is a QR code here that you can scan to pull up our marketing request form. if you work at an organization that also has a marketing office, they probably have a request form, and I'm sure they would appreciate utilizing that because it helps keep everybody on the same page. And this form has different options like, what's your project? How can we help you? Are you planning an event, or do you just simply need help with promotions? And so then the marketing team, or if you build your own newsletter, I think our Read from the Writing Center, she does newsletter writing. So we haven't gotten to this point before she left, but some of the things that we've already discussed would be good if it's only an event for campus. Like we have a Fat Tuesday event that is faculty and staff. So I don't put that on our social media page because all of Athens is not invited. So just keep in mind, is your communication for inside of your organization, or is it open to the community? And that would determine which type of newsletter you put that in. You can also utilize social media, and the few examples we've given you are things that have gone to social media. And like I said, putting your links and your captions is definitely a best practice. And trying to gauge who all would need access to Athens State social media. But if you ever did or had something that you wanted help promoting, I would be the person to help you. So I'd be more than glad to assist you with promotions for Athens State initiatives. And Amy and I work together a lot on those types of projects. So flyers are a bit outdated, but if you happen to be in a space, and we do utilize flyers on campus in areas that may have heavy student traffic, but just think about that. You know, there's a cost associated, which isn't a lot, but it may be worth to put a flyer in restaurants downtown. If you're trying to promote an event, there's definitely still a place for print materials. I'm a little old school and I don't think that everything's just going digital. But then we have digital boards around campus. Your organization may as well. So that's another great opportunity to utilize communications and trying to garner interest in whatever you're promoting. If it's volunteers for the food bank or volunteers for different campus events or participation, including your QR code on those is great because again, it's that going back to what can people do and how can they do it. And then similar to your newsletters, most places have an intranet. We have the Athens portal, and that's only internal. So just kind of thinking through all of these things, as Amy mentioned, you're going to have this workflow of who am I talking to? What's my goal here? And it may be a good additional task to say this needs to go in the intranet where everyone sees it and it may not have to be shot out via email. So just some variety of options to share your information there. And if a marketing request form would be helpful to you, feel free to scan it and save that to your phone or email it to yourself. And touching on writing style a little bit, just to echo what Amy shared, if you're communicating with students or the community or internal users, I won't be too redundant here, but it's important to consider, are you trying to get people excited about an event, excited about attending or volunteering? For students, it's always nice if they know pizza will be provided or free swag. I think anything that you can do to encourage participation, particularly with students, or Meg, as you mentioned, your niche audience there is great. Free entry for students, or we have certain events that seniors get a discount. With the community, there may be an aspect of your event that would be really appealing to them. We had the mayor come to, not the mayor, the governor, gracious, come to Athens State earlier in the fall, I think. And so what's your compelling information that may draw the whole community that would be of interest to them? And then internal, as I mentioned, with newsletters and things that really only people in your department or your organization would be interested in. that would really fall into updates, news, events, volunteer opportunities, things that wouldn't be relevant to the whole community.
And I find myself more casual with the internal communications. Sometimes even person by person, because you may have that relationship where you don't even have to do the greetings or the sign-offs, you know. Or you may find yourself realizing no one has shared this information and this would be good to send out a communication, but I need to keep it to the point, right? I'm going to put some bullet points. I'm going to put some thought into maybe even a headline or a title or a brief summary. I'm going to keep it super, casual in the tone and try to keep it simplified in how I'm sharing that. So, for many years, I worked at a law school and I actually learned this from my students, is that this is how they were consuming the information. And they said, always don't send us anything that we don't absolutely have to know and put it in bullet points. And this is how they communicated until there was a problem and they wanted you to know the whole back history, right? So that's how you know, oh, this is going to be a problem if I open this up and there's 7 paragraphs. And so to this day, I find that interesting because that's not always the case. Some people just are loquacious, right? They have a lot to share with you. And so they want to give you all the back history. There's no problem. They just really want to share all the things with you. So, and we can't always tell other people how to communicate with us. Sometimes we can't, but sometimes people will pick up on how you're sharing information, right? You don't have a problem. You just want to share some things and it's with your, say, volunteers or your department. And so you're just going to say, just ready to share these updates. And then you give them like 3 bullet points. They will appreciate that. And maybe some people will even pick up on it and share information back with you in that way. That's been my experience. Not everybody's going to. Everyone, is different and will pick up on things sometimes, or they just really want to share all the things. So I've also found like AI tools have helped me with this as well. Okay, so because of just who I am, but also working in a law school for so long, I can be very direct. And that is not always the tone in Athens, Alabama that needs to happen. So I have actually put like an email, like I'm really trying to get something across, into AI and said, like, help me write this more politely. And I then read it. I never just copy and paste. I want to read it and see what they did differently. But that has helped me because sometimes we get used to our own tone and what we meant by it. But when it's in writing, that's not always the same as like us being direct with each other.
Yeah.
And like you see that I'm like smiling and like we're, things are fine. So that has helped me. We're obviously not teaching anything on AI, but I just wanted to be transparent and say I do use AI tools and it does help me with.
Name your 2 top tool that you would do that, because I'd love to try
I
it.
use the free ones. So I
Yeah.
use Claude, CLAUDE.ai. And I just use the free version. And I use ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And it's learning about like one event in particular that I've been working on heavily that's new for us.
Yes.
And it's learning all the things. So it gives me pretty good advice now
Yeah.
on building agendas, things that just take time, right? And I don't want it to take time. I want it to do it for me. And then I also, that one in particular was polite.ai, I think. So I think you could do that in any of them, but
Yeah.
now my phone's listening to it.
It
Yeah.
Yes, it is very helpful and a time saver if you don't have a team. I also lean on it to help save time when I've got, so many different tasks, or if you need a marketing plan or social media plan.
Sometimes you want something fast, like social media post for the bear that was in town. Our mascot's a bear. We needed to do something fast. And like, I needed it
Oh,
to
they
be
did?
humorous.
So.
What
Did they get the bear?
They got the bear.
They killed the bear yesterday.
Oh,
Why would they kill it?
Apparently it ventured into a neighborhood and I guess some hoity-toities decided that they could share the space. And so the bear was killed yesterday. They posted it on the news. Yeah,
Oh.
it's all over social media. I mean, there's some
So
people
sad.
very. Now, there's been a new bear sighting. For those of you who are not in the know, there's a mama and 3 cubs that have been spotted. So, oh, they're gonna kill them too, because everybody's gonna run their mouth about it and they'll find them and kill them. Just, why do 67,000 people, where are they located? Right,
Or just like
Right.
alone.
let them go do its thing. The initial story about the bear was that it was displaced as a result of the destruction, and so it made its way into a community. And then everybody kept getting pictures of it. I mean, James Spann posted it once.
Yeah.
It just, yeah. Some things it's better to keep to yourself.
We did not post a picture, but we did. Now I'm sad.
Sorry.
There's
four
good.
more.
We were making humorous, and so my point was that I was using AI to help make something more humorous, like right, like my writing style does not tend to. I don't need to do that on a day-to-day basis, so I will use AI to help me when I want the tone of something to be different or some input about how to make something a certain, you can give it directions to make it more professional or more casual or whatever. So
I think there are some AI sessions, so if you're interested, it would definitely be helpful. I'm not sure what time they are. Maybe we can look in the.
What, you're doing that today? Is it during this day?
I think that there are a couple of AI breakout sessions. We're not leading them. I just want to say I remembered seeing a couple.
All righty.
Oh, it's not.
is it
No AI?
Yeah, I didn't see anything regarding
Yeah, I
AI.
don't think,
Well,
but that's a good idea for next time.
yeah,
Exactly,
maybe next
next year.
time, since Amy and I both used it. And we can change up these last 5 minutes if we want to, but there's also,
Yeah.
There's one Friday.
Okay,
Oh.
tomorrow is
AI for Friday?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's Pixels right in the age of AI.
yes.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, we can build that in. We were gonna talk about, so one of the aspects, I mean, when we built this, as Natalie said, we were thinking about our roles here and about working with students. And sometimes even the basic ask of giving a bio is not something that everyone, I mean, we have theater people in the room, so you may have your bios just like on lock, but not everybody has that, or the tone of it is different, right? You wrote it for that theatrical performance and not for presenting at a conference or for posting on a website. So we thought we would sort of end with that in a practical exercise. And if you guys want to talk about how you could prompt something in AI to do that, I'm happy to take it there. These are Natalie's quick facts, but also there's a worksheet for your turn for talking about your bio. And then I do have some examples. Okay, so my pro tip is you write one that you save and you go from there. For when somebody asks for something to be tailored, then you can tailor it. Okay, so today you could just pick what you might be writing it for. And you're going to start with some really basic stuff. So your name, either your title or your major. This was a prompt for a student. So after graduating, they plan to, and their goal is, or you could say in my current role, I, such and such. If you're passionate about something or enjoy, if this is something that you would put something personal. So these are going to be your personal bios. And then I have some examples for, okay, there's a lot on the slide. Our friend would not appreciate it. But I will tell you, I did use AI to create this. So I asked for examples for one person for different types of bios. So their name is Taylor Johnson, and they are a biology student at Athens State University. And so for a conference presentation bio, the purpose of it is to be professional, informative, relevant to the theme of the conference, very short, 3 to 5 sentences, very, formal to semi-formal. And then it gave like an example, which is very basic. So Taylor is currently the president of this club and has a thesis on this topic. She's presented at these types of summits. And when she graduates, she wants to work in environmental policy. So then how does that change to something less formal, like on the club website, or for you all, maybe it's if you volunteer somewhere or theatrical bio or something that's less formal. So the purpose is more informative, welcoming. So this is for the club that she runs. It's a little bit longer, presumably because this is not going to be in print anywhere. This is going to be just on their website. And then hopefully it's going to encourage people who would want to be involved in that. So again, it has a couple of things about her. It even tells like where she's from to sort of make that connection. What types of projects she's working on campus, other things that she does, like the honors program. So other things that you might be doing that connects with people. That's what you're hoping to do when you put something on a website, is they're going to draw some connection there. They're going to learn just a little bit about you, and something that you care about based on that, whatever website you're putting it on. So social media, this is something that people do occasionally. I always appreciate this. So whether it's something professional that I follow or if it's just purely for fun, right? You don't know who this person is behind the scenes or the people behind the scenes. So I love when they do an introduction post, and they do this on a regular basis because people aren't going to search back through your history and look for the last time that you posted that. You should plan that as something that you do to either recognize volunteers or staff, or in her case, members of her organization, her club. So, and it's going to be catchy. It's going to be more fun. It might even have like emojis in it. So it's like meet Taylor, exclamation point. She's a senior. So it's still telling something about her, but it's also including like an ask. So it's saying, so presumably this would be a picture of her on social media with like a really short bio. And then it would say, her favorite thing about college, turning ideas into action, catch her presenting at the summit this weekend. And so I think for when I read these for other people, what I appreciate, or we do this in our office as well. Typically we do it like in August to introduce ourselves for people who might be checking us out for the first time or discovering us at, their first event. Is what do our faces look like so they know when they see us, and what is like a little something about us, and where can they find us? That's really all we're trying to do, is just do something casual. So if you have saved in your file somewhere, one bio, and then you can tailor it, right? You can copy and paste, you can pop it in AI and say, make this 2 sentences and make it fun for a social media post, and it's going to pop something out you can edit. So that's kind of how I did use AI to build this, and I didn't have to feed it that much info. So for the large group of students that I supervise, the ambassadors, I'm going to be able to take what they give me. Like I want them to write it, but I'm going to be able to pop it in, and then I don't have to keep asking them for stuff, right? If I want to do a post in October about them working at Fiddler's, that's how I would use AI, is to dump all that stuff back in or upload that file and say, give me, 1 paragraph about the people who work backstage at Fiddler's, and this is them. And it will create instead of me having to spend, 30 minutes, 45 minutes trying to think of like something fun to say or whatever, it's just going to do it for me. That's what I use it for. But I still edit, etc. So we thought with what time you have left, if you want to, or you can just take this worksheet with you, or if you want feedback from us, we're happy to do that, is that you have a bio ready for yourself, and then you tailor it for what you need it for.
It is 11:50, so
We did not deliver on our.
No, I thought we were just gonna like fly through this. So you can take the sheet with you. You could take pictures of these examples if that would be helpful to you.
I was just gonna ask if you had the PowerPoint presentation either online, could we get it
We could
emailed?
probably send it to Kim probably, and
We could, yeah, I don't know that she has a repository for it, but,
or if you
could
want
just get your
to,
email and.
if you would put your email
I
here.
made notes with respect to 2 of the slides, but yes, I thought it was interesting. Your bio examples are nice as well.
Do you want to add your email? Okay.
And I don't know what it is about having a mental block for some of us about talking about yourself. It's
Yeah.
just, you know, or you read somebody else's and you're like, that's really nice. But then you start thinking about yourself and you're like, I really don't know.
what
Do
to
I want to
say.
stay? Yeah. So sometimes that can be helpful now that we have AI to, you just put some stuff in there and it's gonna write it for you. And then it's almost like you can read it back. You get past the block of like, do I say me? Like you're talking about yourself in third person? So weird. Yeah.
Would
No
anyone
matter
else
how many
want
times you've done it, I think it's
the
weird.
email?
Are you saying
You
how
can
you mail it?
email this.
Okay,
to
you got
me.
the PowerPoint slides?
Yeah.
This will actually
Yeah,
come through as a
awesome.
PDF.
That's fine.
Um,
That's great.